So I want to weave back into this subject of the eroticness of life. And it seems like this is quite a good place to do it, out here in the sun. So again, speaking of this, almost like this current in life, that I'm calling the Eros, I'm not talking about just erotic, as in physical sex kind of thing. I'm talking about that sunshine on the skin as well, and the delight of that, and the being able to connect to that delight as we go through life in its different forms. That sunshine on the face, that feeling of delicious, oh, that beautiful sound of that bird, that I went to buy some bread and the tiny exchange I had with the person selling me the bread, it brought this little thing of joy to my heart. For no reason. I don't need something from that person. I'm not going to fall in love with them. I'm not going to get married. I'm not even going to be their friend. But there was something in that exchange that just made my heart go, yum, you know? That kind of yum. That kind of current. That we can connect to through this, somehow this awareness of our sensuous bodies being soft and fluid and strong and flowing and breathable, as in the 4 elements, 5 elements with space, something coming together with that, making this. As Bob Marley said, there's a natural mystic flowing through the air. You know this song? If you listen carefully, you will hear it. There's a natural mystic flowing through the air. That's what he was talking about, Bob Marley. He was talking about that Eros that's in between things. And there's something about connecting with that Eros that brings us naturally into a sense of belonging in this life, into having a place as we are, as ourselves. Or we could say into that intimacy with ourself, into being our own best friend, that closeness, that being in touch with what's happening here in the whole of the experience. So like the main Buddhist teachings are around being in touch with what's coming from the senses. And the institution of Buddhism and monasticism and all of that takes the language of we need to guard our senses. But that's just, it's a certain language. But if we are in touch with what's happening with the senses, without necessarily getting pulled into cravings, into the need for them, the addiction, but we're in that, so we're fully present in the hearing is just the heard. When we're fully in that experience, there is the Eros, there's the natural mystic there flowing through. And as part of coming into this intimacy with ourself, with becoming our own best friend. We need a certain, as I was speaking with someone in one of the one-to-ones, we need a certain discernment. We need to cultivate and develop our discernment about what's wholesome and what's not wholesome. And that I find that the easiest way is being in touch with what's happening in our body as it comes, with the sensations. That our body is has huge amounts of wisdom to tell us what's wholesome and unwholesome in our reactions to things. So we're imprinting through the senses, and it's coming in. There's contact, there's feeling, there's reaction, and then there's this discernment of, is this wholesome or unwholesome? And the practice of bypassing your thinky mind, your kind of psychological stories about you and your past and your whatever, bypassing that and just listening to the body and developing that sense of intuitiveness can be the gateway into that feeling what's wholesome and unwholesome. And so many times I hear from people who say, but I don't know. And I have that as well in many parts of my life where I'm like, but how do I choose, you know? How do I choose where the boundaries are? Where I say no to something, or where I say, okay, I'll be open to that, or whatever, you know? But the body knows, your body knows. And so the more that we practice that, listening to that body telling us, is this wholesome? Almost like we're tasting any situation, just about anything that's going on, that's arising. We're tasting it with our sensation body, our sensate body. We're tasting this for feeling into whether it's healthy or not. The reaction. Not just, I shouldn't ever have a reaction. I should stop all reactions and become a bit of a robot. And numb out, not feel anything down here, not think anything. It's not going to really work. But to taste, does this taste good? Then it can help us to guide ourselves through life. And to have a lot of patience with our own practice, with where we're at, you know? So like fully knowing I'm coming from this difficult situation. So it's normal that I don't always have all of the tools to deal with it perfectly. There is so much almost like expectation of being perfect human beings, you know? That I would say maybe 40-50% of suffering comes from the expectation that we should be these perfect human beings. And it's not working. It's just not working, huh? The perfect human being syndrome. It's not working out, huh? It's like the pressure cooker. It's like we put the gas on full, you know, and then we're like, wow, it's burning. And I have this ideal person syndrome sometimes, in that I really have this belief that I should be able to get up early in the morning. And before meditation, to go and do some jogging and some push-ups and, you know. And so until I started to laugh at myself a bit about this ideal person that always gets up early, I was just suffering from this ideal that it should be easy for me to get up early in the morning and do my one-armed push-ups and my running, have a cold shower. I hate cold showers, you know, and I never want to have cold showers, really. But there's this idea that you know, spiritually evolved people have cold showers, you know. And I'm like, no. Oh, Finnish people jumping into freezing lakes. No, no. You do that, not me. So sure, there are many things we can get over and many things you can find out as well and be open to. Either being it. I don't need to push that suffering too much. And I do get up early because I live in a retreat place and I get up to meditate. But I'm really glad when I have times, when I have a weekend off as well. And then I meditate like around 11 o'clock in the morning. So finding our way with with that perfect human standards that we set ourselves, the ideas we set ourselves. And that somehow that setting of standards puts us into not belonging really. When we're not fitting our ideal standard of how we should be, then, of course we're not belonging. And so there's these three, like in classical Buddhism, they always have these, they always do things in numbers. So they have categories to try and remember, because the teachings back in the old days, 2,600 years ago, no computers, no files and all that. So they always tried to remember things by repeating them with numbers. And this one is called the three cravings, or the three thirsts, tanhas in Pali. So one of them is what I was talking about a bit yesterday, is the craving that comes from the senses, the cravings, the thirsts that we get from being a sensuous human being with six senses. So again, to say that the six senses are not something that would need to be stopped or got rid of. It's part of the package. It's the cravings that come from that tend to cause us quite a lot of suffering. But as I spoke about that yesterday, I won't speak more. The other one is, the second one is to become something. The thirst to become something. So somehow connected with reputation, probably my ideal person who gets up early in the morning. There's some of the craving of becoming something, or some job, somebody's lover, some identity that we're putting up on a pedestal that we want to get to. And that wishing to get to it, can be quite a lot of suffering in that. That pulls us out of belonging. That pulls us out of that presence of Eros. The other one is unbecoming. The wish we have sometimes to just disappear out of our own life, to not be. When it's all just too much and you just go, I just want to dig a hole in the ground and disappear. I don't want this. And then we are definitely not in our belonging. We're often disconnected and not in intimacy with our natural mystic flow. So these are just those three thirsts that we tend towards, that pull us out of belonging, that take the carpet from under our feet in our sense of being part of the fiber. I don't know if you've seen like a Van Gogh painting and how vibrant the paintings are. There's something that he captured the vibrancy, almost like he could see the atoms in everything, the bright colors, the aliveness in everything. And he managed to put that in his paintings. And I've been in a room because there's this amazing exhibition that's going around the world, and it's got some Van Gogh's paintings. The people who influenced Van Gogh, the drawings and the photos that he saw, or the people, and then he made a painting of that. And then there's a room of paintings of Van Gogh and other people who were influenced by him or somehow connected to him. And you walk in the room and there's all these paintings, and straight away you can see which are his, straight away. Because there's that aliveness, there's that vibrancy, there's that Eros that he connected to and managed to do in painting. And coming to Eros as a type of empowerment, a way of living or tapping into the Eros in our lives to live from that strength, which is not at all something of like power over other people. It's not a down-putting of others at all. It's completely like our own well here coming up. So occupying our unique place in the universe. And as there's also the quote that I'm sure that you've heard before from Oscar Wilde, which is, you can only be yourself because all the other selves have already been taken. And so that, as I was saying yesterday with those Buddhist teachings on we are not equal nor superior nor inferior to others, there is no need to be constantly feeling into that comparing place, the putting ourselves as lower, not good enough, better than. It's not an exercise that's bringing us into belonging in the big tribe of the universe, in our place. That can just fall apart, the comparing, when we start to put some feet, like some bare feet on the moss, on the ground, and go, I can feel that. To stand in our own ground. So I'll read a little quote from Audre Lorde, who was a black feminist, lesbian in the 70s, which must have been a hell of a brave thing to be in those times, in the middle of the civil rights movements and everything, So I think that she probably had to really tap into some serious belonging to be able to stand up and be a writer, and to really look in herself for what was really real and to not make compromises. So this is just an excerpt from an essay that she wrote about the erotic, meaning this Eros I'm speaking of, yeah? For the erotic is not only a question of what we do, it is a question of how acutely and fully we can feel in the doing. Once we know the extent to which we are capable of feeling that sense of satisfaction and completion, we can then observe which of our various life endeavors brings us closest to that fullness. Shall I read that again? Was there? For the erotic is not only a question of what we do, it is a question of how acutely and fully we can feel in the doing. Once we know the extent to which we are capable of feeling that sense of satisfaction and completion, we can then observe which of our various life endeavors brings us closest to that fullness. So in a way, feeling into what brings for us, for each one, what brings us to that sensuous, full aliveness. I find is quite easy to connect with, like on a sunny day on a retreat, doing walking meditation barefoot. There's something there, just the feet on the ground, the air on the face. It's quite easy to tap into. But I've written some other ideas that are mine. So, really know that they're things that I have found helpful. So to be tried if you feel like, but not necessarily what works for everyone. So one is finding sanctuary in ourselves, finding a safe place in our own body that we can drop into easily. Finding like that softness, that soft sensuousness in our own body that is its own kindness that lives inside us. Just because in this human body, there's no metal or wood or gravel or sand or glass or anything. In this body, it's all pretty soft and squishy. And connecting to that softness can connect to that almost like that caress inside that we can find in ourselves. And having a place that we can often go to and get to know, like a sanctuary in our body, is a refuge. And that's the reason why the Buddha taught as the first foundation of mindfulness is the body, the body, the body. And there are books and books and books about the Buddha's teachings on meditation in the body. And if we were to just do meditation, if I was to guide on all of the body meditations, we could be here for 6 months. It's such a big realm. It's huge, So knowing that probably each person will have a different feeling of how to find that, get into it. So also finding our boundaries and knowing the feeling in our body of where our boundaries are. When our boundaries are being stepped over by someone. And this is maybe a subject I'll come back to later in the retreat, in a few days or something. So that's having a body feeling of, as I was speaking about wholesome and unwholesome, it kind of ties in with that, having a body feeling of, as a kind of signal, when somebody is doing something that we just need to say no, no. Or, yes, these are my strengths, and I know my strengths. So knowing our limits and our strengths. And knowing the sensations of those in the body. Teachings on non-self also help us into this belonging, this Eros of life. And also, which I will probably speak of more towards the end of the retreat, teachings on cessation, which is rather than focusing on the kind of the more intense feelings and thoughts that arise in awareness, in meditation, in formal meditation, but also in our daily lives, we tend to notice the intents. And we might be intensely feeling, let's say, hunger or something, and not notice that our mind is completely free of any anger or irritation or, So it's noticing when there's the blue between the the rain clouds. So because the rain clouds are dramatic, we notice them. But actually, there's a lot of moments when we have a lot of very peaceful qualities in our mind. And so it's, noticing the absence. Oh, at the moment, there's absence of contractedness in my heart, body, mind. There's absence of grasping, the suffering, of wanting something that's not there or pushing something away. There's an absence to that. And whilst, I can kind of explain it very shortly, but it's a huge world. It's enormous how much we can practice with cessation, with what's absent, and get to know the mind states of what's absent. Instead of getting to know the mind states of the contracted, the difficult, the delusions, and being kind of obsessed with that, it's slowly turning the attention to enlightenment, freedom. So it's noticing the moments of freedom. Freedom from sufferings. And we could even have like a ring on each finger that symbolizes, some of these things that we suffer from. And we could go, okay, going over to not there today. Oh, not anger today. Whoop. Not this, not that, We go, 5-ring day today. And then, a bit of that. Oh, it goes back there. Oh, that can be a way of practicing. Like, I know the Tibetan monastic way is also to have, some white stones in one pocket and some black stones in another. And to notice, when there are negative states and positive states. And then they put the white ones in the top pocket and the black ones in the other top pocket. So there can be very clear ways of doing these practices of cessation, of noticing cessation, like intentionally. And maybe that's how they did it in the Himalayas, because there's lots of stones. So you're walking along and you can pick up some stones and but I'm sure we can find different ways or something similar. And this noticing of cessation, it helps our neuroplasticity. It helps to open neural pathways to allow for something new to emerge. For the new to emerge. For what we don't know that we are as well to emerge. So I think that I've probably said as much as I'm going to say today. And thank you very much for listening, for being here, for making this with me.